Welcome to the Secrets of Professional Gamblers tutorial series. This is tutorial 7, how to target bet multiple selections. Okay, so a few words of introduction. I'm a professional engineer, and while at university I was looking for a way to make a few extra dollars that wouldn't interrupt my studies. I had a TAB in my place, which is basically a government-approved agent for horse, greyhound and harness racing, and I decided to check it out. I knew nothing about betting at first, so I put a lot of research into it and ended up knowing quite a lot about the subject. I soon realised to be good at this activity, I would have to go about it professionally. And for a start, I wouldn't be betting at the TAB because of the totalised 8-ball system they used. I also wouldn't bet at a casino because of the automatic loss built into every game. In fact, the only betting I found that could be exploited for profit was sports betting, including horse racing, as long as I had access to fixed odds. I found that investing in sports markets shared a lot with traditional investing, which not only allowed me to bet profitably, but also led me to create a number of unique betting products, which you can find on eBay. Just search for me, Matt's Games, and have a look at Wildfire Pro Keno and Wildfire Pro Lotto. My latest product is Wildfire Pro Sportsbet, and I'll be using it throughout this series, and if you're interested, you can get your own copy at the link below in the comments. I like to put a disclaimer ahead of all my videos because I'm not encouraging people to waste their money on cheap thrills. I believe the main rules of gambling professionally are these. Don't risk more money than you can afford to lose, set a limit and stick to it. If you are going to gamble long term and professionally, set aside a bankroll for betting purposes, don't use it for anything else, and manage it carefully. Betting is easy when all goes well, but if you find you begin to stress after a number of losses, betting gets reckless and you stop managing your money, perhaps it's time to look for another hobby. Stop gambling, you're not suited to this activity. In the last video, we took a look at your long-term betting strategy and staking strategies to use for your everyday betting. In the last video, we were introduced to 5 specific staking methods, and it's assumed you've selected one by now. If you've chosen the Kelly Target Spend, then you can use the Kelly calculator in Wildfire Pro Sportsbet to calculate how much to safely spend on your current bet. Otherwise, you'll have a target profit or target spend in mind based on one of the other staking methods that has been discussed. Splitting your wager into individual bet amounts depends on how many selections you have chosen for this bet. If you're using the 3 favourites method, you will have chosen 3 selections. If you're using ratings, you have the opportunity to bet on less than a total of 3 selections, possibly 1 or 2 alone. Up till now, we've learned what to bet, how much to bet, and on how many selections. Let's now have a look at how we would wager each to profit equally, regardless of which selection actually wins. To do this, we will use a method called Dutching or Dutch booking. This is a great technique that allows our betting to be predictable. It also avoids the psychology of being disappointed when a lesser priced selection wins. This technique was named after a colourful character by the name of Dutch Schultz. You might enjoy the background article given in this slide. There is also a variation to this approach that still uses the Dutching concept. We still bet on all 2 or 3 of our selections, but aim for only one selection for profit. The other selections become savers. They return our total wager back without profit if our main selection does not win. This is called a biased Dutch bet. The advantage of this approach is that the profit on the main selection will be greater than the equal profit on all selections. Take note though, this biased approach is best applied only to selections with longer priced odds. Short-priced favourites won't provide a significant additional profit compared to equal shares. Thus, equal shares is the best approach should you not have a longer priced selection you wish to bias. There are very accurate calculators in Wildfire Pro Sportsbet that will allow you to find your split wagers using either approach. These accurate calculators are one of the main features of my product. If you know your total spend and you're only betting on one horse to win, then the wager is obviously the whole amount. Wildfire Pro Sportsbet will allow you to predict the results in terms of return and profit, including commission. The numbers you see calculated are the back lose, which is your stake, the back win, return before commission, the profit if lost, the profit if won before commission, and the profit total after commission is taken out. One of the unique features of Wildfire Pro Sportsbet is the ability to back calculate a stake based on a specific profit you are aiming for. You won't find this anywhere else, mainly because once you start touching for a specific profit with multiple side commissions, the calculations for the right stake amounts are quite difficult. When you have two selections, you'll be splitting your wager to return an even or biased profit, regardless of whether your strategy is to target the spend or the profit. Simple versions of split spend calculators can be found on the internet, but they are limited. For example, they won't calculate with commissions from two different betting exchanges, and they won't calculate for a target profit. Wildfire Pro Sportsbet will give you the numbers you need and also take into account different commissions for each bet. The image in the slide shows a truncated version of the 2-bet Dutch book calculator in Wildfire Pro Sportsbet. In this case, we have a split spend example. Notice that the biased wager for the low odds bet is not a great deal greater than the return for both bets when profiting evenly. This is even more pronounced when we look at the results for 3 bets on the next slide. Also notice the calculator will round the bets off. We can't bet $4.46 at a betting exchange, so it provides the closest realistic bet, including the results for betting this way. As for 2 bets, Wildfire Pro Sportsbet will do your 3-way split calculations as well. Here we see a target profit example. Remember in the last video, I mentioned the spend involved in target profit betting is fairly uncontrolled and potentially more dangerous than target spend betting. We can see that point made here in this example. For an even profit target, the total wager is quite expensive. The total wager drops if we bias a profit from one selection only. Notice that biasing the highest priced selection will cost the least in terms of total spend, while biasing the lowest price selection will cost the most. Okay, so let's summarise. The primary focus of the professional gambler is to protect his bankroll. No bet will be made before knowing at least 2 criteria: what the estimated chance of winning the bet is, and what is the expected run of outs. Once this is known, the professional bettor will calculate a safe bet size. Staking for a target spend will protect his bankroll much more than staking for a target profit, especially if any selection is running at low odds. Using the Dutch betting strategy, including biased Dutch betting, is a safe and effective way to bet on multiple selections. The professional bettor will always bet with a long-term strategy in mind. The professional bettor will know all the risks of his strategy before making a bet. The professional's main bankroll will be used for one market, one selection method, and one staking method only. Any other bet will come out of a separate bankroll.